Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Hana Kai Healing. My name is Hana, and on this channel I share with you the spiritual and esoteric mysteries of Vedic astrology, yoga, and Ayurveda to guide you on your path of healing and transcendence. And today I'm going to be sharing with you about a very big transit happening on March 29th, the move of Shani Maharaj, or Saturn, into the sign of Pisces. This is maybe one of the biggest transits of the year, as Saturn only moves every 2.5 to 3 years. So if you're interested in learning more, stay tuned. Okay, so Saturn's move into Pisces. As I'm recording this video, it is March 22nd, so we're a week out from this big shift. But of course, with Vedic astrology, when there is a transit, we often feel the transit before it happens, and then of course we're going to feel the impacts after it happens. And often it is that lead up period to a particular transit that at certain times can be the most intense. And I am here in Bali, and we've had a lot of storms coming through, a lot of wind, a lot of like mini cyclones, and just gusts of wind that will go from literally like full calm to like full-blown chaos in a matter of seconds. And I feel that it's really like this island is metabolizing what's happening in the collective, and there's just a lot of energy that's needing to be moved through and shifted and cleared, and there's a lot going on right now. And wherever you are in the world, you're probably feeling this, that the ground that we're on, while usually is very stable, it's maybe not feeling that way as much as it usually is. You might be feeling that you have no structure or stability in your life, or you're trying to make a decision about what to do next and you're not really sure about it. And it's even difficult to come to clarity, to access clarity. And there could be other things going on for you that are intense, that are moving through you. And I just want to say that this is an inherently intense time. But I do feel that once Saturn does make his big shift into Pisces, eventually things are going to start to become a little bit more steady in our lives and in the collective, whatever that looks like for you. But I think that the steadiness and the clarity is going to come in. Anyway, backtracking a little bit, I just wanted to talk about Saturn in this video and the potency and the Shakti of Shani Maharaj, Lord Saturn. So Lord Saturn is known as the great slow mover. He's the slow mover because he's the slowest moving planet in the solar system. So every planet, the moon and Mars and Mercury and Venus and Rahu and Ketu and Jupiter and everyone, they all kind of move at their own pace. And so the moon is very quick moving. It changes constellations every couple of days. And then we have planets that move at a moderate pace and can retrograde more often and go back and forth, such as Mercury. And Mars and Venus also move at a more moderate pace. Then we have planets like Jupiter and Rahu Ketu, the shadow planets, the nodes. They take a year and a half to change signs. But then Saturn takes 2.5 to 3 years-ish every single sign. So Saturn hasn't been in Pisces for like 27 years. So you might even want to reflect back to 27 years ago in your life if you were alive then. So it would be like 1998-ish. That was the last time that Saturn was in Pisces, and like what was going on for you in your life then? What was moving through you then? So whereas a planet like the moon is more fickle and more feminine, Saturn is more steady. If we look at where Saturn is in our chart, it's like Saturn kind of delivers our karma in this area of our life, or where Saturn is transiting in our chart, Saturn really brings us the karma that we have created for ourselves. And a lot of people really fear Saturn because Saturn is considered to be a more extractive planet as opposed to a more benefic and nourishing planet such as Jupiter or Venus or Mercury. But really, Saturn is very, very misunderstood. And Saturn is so essential because it's Saturn that provides the structure, the discipline, the foundation for our lives. And Saturn really loves it when we can show up to life as humble, devoted students who are willing to excavate our hearts and our consciousness and psyches of anything that's impure, to step more into our dharmic path, but also to step more into love and to step into our fullness. So I'm going to make a different video about Sadesati, but Sadesati is this time in our lives whenever Saturn is flanking or in the same house as our natal moon, where Saturn, due to its proximity to our moon, really is working on the manas, working on the mind, and really eradicating anything from our life that is not serving us, that is extraneous, that is toxic. You could say Saturn is like the detox planet, and we all need to detox. But sometimes detox is painful. Sometimes detox doesn't feel good and is intense. And that's why Saturn is often feared, because, yeah, we don't want to feel awful. We don't want to feel sick. But I'm here to say that Saturn really shouldn't be feared. Saturn should be revered, because when we can clear that which is not serving us from our, not just our physical being, but from our subtle body, from our realm, then what we do is we create space for what is for us. So Saturn is very, very generous in that way. And also Saturn is like a representation in some ways of divine masculine consciousness, because when Saturn promises something or Saturn is set on something, Saturn will deliver. Saturn is predictable. Saturn is stable. Saturn can also be cold and isolated as well, but Saturn is going to show up, and Saturn loves it when we show up. So a way that we can really honor Saturn in general in our lives is by being in integrity, doing what we say we're going to do. And even if we're not in a Sadesati period, it's important that we always have a Saturnine look at our lives, that we take a ruthless look at ourselves and where am I not fully showing up? Where are my blind spots? Where am I not in integrity in my own life? And approaching life in this way can be very cathartic and healing. Now, going back to the transit that is happening this upcoming week on March 29th, this is a massive transit because Saturn hasn't moved in a really long time. And when Saturn moves into Pisces, he's going to reside in Pisces for 3 years approximately. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Pisces is synonymous with endings. Endings, things coming to fruition and dying, and things being reborn again. At the very tail end of Pisces, we have the Nakshatra of Revati, which is all about shepherding lost souls home to their final destination, so that there can be a final letting go, so that we can finally be reborn into our next life. And so while this isn't a time where we're all going to be reborn into our next lives, it's certainly a time of endings. And you might be noticing around you, maybe a relationship you're in is ending. Maybe if you've been single, that's ending. Maybe a job you had is ending. Maybe a dream that you had is ending, and you're realizing that's no longer my path. Maybe a friendship is ending. Maybe a health crisis is ending. Maybe a job you love is ending. There's so many things that can be ending at this time. And that's why it's very important to really get used to practicing non-attachment and knowing that when something ends, it's always a new beginning. This is an essential teaching of Vedic thought, that everything happens in a cyclical nature. To everything, there is a season, and there is always something that is being reborn and birthed into the cosmos and into our lives as well. So we really shouldn't fear during this time. This is going to be the thing that holds us back most, is fearing. What is Saturn going to do? What is Saturn going to take? what's going to happen? What's Saturn going to deliver that I don't like? At the end of the day, Saturn delivers what is best, what is in the best interest for our highest good. And Saturn has the conscious awareness of this. And Saturn asks us to go deeper, to access parts of ourselves that we need to access to be able to work with old patterns and old karmic situations that aren't going to serve us, that need to be eradicated. So say maybe you're in a relationship and you've been in relationship after relationship after relationship that was toxic and that didn't work out. Saturn might have a way of showing you it's time to actually look at yourself, take full responsibility, and address why you are going through these cycles that are not ultimately serving you. Eradicate the pattern and then create something new. So when we eradicate the pattern in our lives, that's a death. We're saying no to that. We're letting it go. We're letting it die from our lives. And we're creating space for a new pattern, a new paradigm that actually could serve us. So while doing that, it doesn't feel good. In the same example, looking at a relationship pattern, I do that and that's really toxic, or I've been a yes to that and that's really not good for me. That sucks to feel that way. Or maybe it's related to your work. Like, I have been saying yes to job opportunities that are not good for me, or this actually isn't what I want to do, but I just did a doctorate in it and I actually don't want to do that. I want to teach yoga, or whatever it is. Admitting that to ourselves. It's time where we want to, take the medicine, and maybe it's bitter medicine, but the thing is, when we take bitter medicine is always nectar in the end. And this is a principle actually from Ayurveda. So just a side note that bitter medicine actually ends up being sweet. And that's really the energy of Saturn as well. And Saturn also helps us grow resilience within our lives and to trust as well. So there's so many beautiful things about Saturn. And what's also very significant about this transit is, and as I've talked about this on my channel, is that we have a lot of other action happening in Pisces right now. We just had our eclipse in Virgo, which is directly across from Pisces. So Virgo is receiving all of these things that are happening in Pisces. And then in Pisces, we have Mercury, who is retrograde. We have Venus, who is also retrograde until April 12th. We also have Rahu there, just getting ready to change signs and go into Aquarius in May. And then on March 29th, Chandradev will also be in Pisces as well. Chandradev is the Sanskrit term for the moon. And we're going to have a lot of planets. It's a big stellium, a Maha stellium, a Maha big pileup in Pisces. A lot of people are going to be in the energy. And by people, I mean the planets. And the people in this world as well. We're all going to be feeling it. And there's just so much energy building up right now. And the buildup really is about the release. And if you can feel into that in your own life, what's building? Where is the pressure building? And knowing that eventually there's going to be a calm. There's going to be a release. There's going to be a letting go. And then there's going to be some relief. And when Saturn really enters into the Rashi of Pisces, Saturn will start to establish a little bit more structure. Things will start to get a little more clear. Also, as the eclipse clears, the eclipse energy clears after March 29th, eclipses inherently bring up a lot of illusion, disillusionment, confusion, smoke and mirrors due to the nature of Rahu Ketu, beloved Rahu Ketu. I really like them actually, but they do their smoke and mirrors thing pretty well, especially during the eclipse period. So also the lack of clarity that they can often create, sometimes for our highest good, sometimes not. That's also going to begin to dissipate a little bit, hopefully. And yeah, I think that things are going to become more clear. The murky waters that you might be in will begin to be less murky. It's kind of like we might look at something and think this is pure. My intentions in this regard are pure. But then when we really start to excavate into ourselves at a deeper level, we see that maybe we did have some impure motives. Maybe we weren't seeing things clearly. Maybe we did have blind spots. Maybe that pattern we thought we had eradicated, we hadn't fully eradicated. And again, this goes back to Vedic thought. In Vedic learning, whatever you're doing, be it yoga, Sanskrit, Ayurveda, Vedic learning is cyclical. We don't just learn one lesson, check it off our box, and move on to the next lesson. We have to keep revisiting the same lesson over and over and over again and deepening into that lesson. If you think of a yoga practice, if you're really into practicing yoga, it's like, how many times have you done a down dog in your life? And every time we're refining our practice. And that's the nature of Vedic life. And so it is as well with Pisces. Pisces is the final sign. It is that letting go, but it's to be born again, to deepen into the lessons that are available to us. And ultimately, the point of all of this is to show up and live as love and live our dharma, our highest path, our highest purpose more, and get rid of what is clouding, what is getting in the way of that. So that's just a little update on this big transit that's happening. And while I've said some things, at the end of the day, I really don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that it's powerful and it's important to be present. I would invite you to also in your life, look at where you're numbing, where you're avoiding, where you're not being honest with yourself. And instead of numbing, being with what is, feeling what's moving through you, feeling the difficult feelings, journaling, going for a walk, doing some breath work, doing less. This is actually a really, really good time to do less and be okay with that. Not judge yourself for not being productive, because so much is shifting, and sometimes in this space, the deepest healing takes place. So I'm curious, how are you feeling during this time? What's moving through you in your life? I'd love to know what you're feeling. Feel free to leave me a note in the comments and let me know. And definitely feel free to also let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to this video, and definitely subscribe and like this video if you are enjoying it, and I will look forward to hopefully connecting with you very, very soon. All blessings during this eclipse and big Saturn transit time of March. Wow, it's a big time. It's a powerful time. Hari Om Tat.